I emptied almost everything I had to help my younger brother start his business. $80,000. Years of savings. Years of overtime. Years of saying no to vacations, nice cars, and a better apartment. And when his company finally took off, he told everyone it was a gift. Not a loan, not help. A gift. Then my own family started calling me greedy for asking for my money back. But what none of them knew would make his entire life collapsed in front of everyone. And before I tell you what happened, I need you to answer honestly. If your own brother borrowed life-changing money from you and then pretended it was a gift, would you expose him publicly? Or keep quiet to protect the family? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know what you would do in my shoes. And if you're hooked and want to see how this all unfolds, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the story. Because what I did next split my entire family AP. Art. My name is Daniel. I'm 38 years old. I've spent most of my life being the dependable one, the stable one, the reliable one, the person everyone called when something went wrong. Need help moving? Call Daniel. Need someone to loan money? Ask Daniel. Need somebody to sacrifice their own plans to keep the family together? Daniel will handle it. That had been my role for so long. I stopped noticing how unfair it was. I never got celebrated the way Marcus did. Nobody called me brilliant. Nobody called me ambitious. I was just responsible. The family treated Marcus like the future. They treated me like the safety net underneath it. And for years, I accepted that. My brother Marcus had always been the dreamer in the family. He was charismatic, confident, the kind of person who could walk into a room and make everyone believe he was destined for greatness. I was the opposite: quiet, careful, responsible. While Marcus chased ideas, I chased stability. I worked accounting jobs, saved aggressively, built my life slowly and cautiously. Our parents adored Marcus. Your brother is going to do something big someday, my mother always said. And honestly, I believed it too. That's why when Marcus came to me 3 years ago with tears in his eyes and a business plan in his backpack, I listened. It's my shot, he told me. If I miss this opportunity, I'll regret it forever. He wanted to open a specialty automotive shop. Not just repairs, custom luxury work. He had suppliers lined up, a small warehouse location, potential investors. But he was short on startup cash. Banks had rejected him. Investors wanted too much control. At first, Marcus acted understanding when I hesitated. But then the pressure started. Slowly, strategically. He began calling me almost every night, talking about how this business could change everything for the family. This isn't just about me, he said. This could secure all of our futures. He talked about helping our parents retire someday, helping cousins find jobs, creating generational wealth. And every conversation somehow ended the same way. With you believing in me. Then other relatives started getting involved, which meant Marcus had already been talking. My aunt called me one afternoon and said, "You're the older brother. If you can help him, you should." My mother said, "Marcus has talent, Daniel. He just needs support." Then my father hit me with the line that stayed in my head for weeks. "You've always been the dependable one." At first, it sounded like praise. But eventually I realized something. In my family, dependable really meant expected to sacrifice. Nobody asked Marcus to risk everything for me. Nobody expected him to drain his savings for family. But because I was careful with money, because I worked overtime, because I planned responsibly, suddenly everyone acted like my savings belonged to the family. Marcus knew exactly how to use that pressure. "You know, everyone believes in me," he said one night quietly. "Imagine how bad it'll look if my own brother doesn't." That sentence crushed me. Because now it wasn't just about helping Marcus. It was about guilt, family reputation, expectations. And deep down, I think Marcus understood something before I did. That I cared more about keeping the family together than protecting myself. Then he looked at me. "I just need someone who believes in me." That sentence ruined my life. At first, I said no. Not because I didn't love him. Because I knew the risk. $80,000 wasn't casual money. It was nearly everything I had. My emergency fund. My future house down payment. Years of sacrifice. But Marcus kept pushing. "You know I'd never screw you over. We're family. I'll pay you back within 2 years." And then he hit me with the line that finally broke my resistance. "If you don't help me, nobody will." I remember staring at my banking app that night for almost an hour. My stomach felt sick. Something deep inside me was screaming not to do it. But guilt is powerful, especially in families where being supportive is more than being smart. The morning I finally agreed, Marcus sounded emotional, relieved. He told me I was changing his life. He promised repayment timelines, profit percentages, monthly updates. He even shook my hand and said, "I give you my word." I actually remember feeling proud for a moment. Like maybe this was what family was supposed to look like. One person succeeding, because another person believed in them. I didn't realize I was funding the beginning of my own humiliation. So I transferred the money. $80,000. Marcus hugged me like I'd saved his life. "You'll never regret this," he said. I did, almost immediately. For the first few months, Marcus acted grateful. At first, Marcus called constantly. He updated me on everything. Construction delays, equipment costs, marketing plans. Sometimes he'd call just to say, "We're gonna make it." That word mattered to me back then, because I genuinely believed we were building something together. But after a while, I started noticing something strange. At family gatherings, nobody ever mentioned the loan. Not once. Nobody thanked me for helping Marcus start the business. Nobody acknowledged what I sacrificed. At first I assumed Marcus just hadn't brought it up yet. Then months passed, and I realized something uncomfortable. He told them about the business, all right. He just conveniently left me out of the story. And my family? The aunt, mother, and father who practically begged me to help him? They completely erased my involvement, acting like it never happened. If your own parents took credit for your sacrifice, how would you handle it? Let me know in the comments, and hit like if you're as furious as I was. The family praised his hard work, his vision, his grind, and every time they celebrated him. I sat there silently knowing the business literally would not exist without my money. But Marcus never corrected the story. Never once said, "Actually, Daniel made this possible." That silence wasn't accidental. It was the beginning of the rewrite, and I was too loyal to admit it yet. Constant updates, late-night calls, photos of construction progress. Then the business opened, and suddenly, everything changed. The calls slowed down. The updates became bragging. Then came social media. Marcus standing in front of luxury cars. Marcus posting captions about self-made success. Marcus talking about building from nothing. From nothing. Every time I saw those words, something twisted in my chest. Still, I stayed patient. He promised repayment would start once cash flow stabilized. So I waited. Then 6 months passed. Then a year. Then 18 months. And every time I brought up repayment, Marcus had a new excuse. Business expansion. Payroll issues. Taxes. Meanwhile, he bought a new watch. Then a new truck. Then vacations. And somehow, every family gathering turned into a celebration of Marcus. My parents bragged about him constantly. "You should see what your brother built. He's inspiring. He took risks." I wanted to scream. I took the risk. I funded the risk. Without me, none of it would exist. But I kept quiet, at first. The first warning sign came during my cousin's birthday dinner. My aunt asked Marcus how he got the business started, and Marcus laughed casually. "Oh, my brother helped me out a little." A little. Then he added something that made my stomach drop. He gave me startup money instead of wasting it sitting in savings. Gave me. I looked up immediately. Marcus avoided eye contact. Everyone kept eating. Like nothing happened. Later that night, I confronted him outside the restaurant. "What do you mean gave you?" Marcus sighed dramatically. "Come on, don't make this weird. We agreed it was family support." "No," I said. "We agreed it was a loan." He rubbed his forehead. "You know how bad it sounds if people think I borrowed money?" That was the moment I realized something terrifying. He wasn't forgetting. He was rewriting the story on purpose. After that dinner, things got worse fast. Family members started making comments. Passive-aggressive little comments. "Money changes people. You shouldn't pressure your brother. Family should help family." One afternoon my mother actually said, "You're lucky Marcus succeeded. Otherwise that money would have been wasted." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My money. The money I earned. The money I sacrificed for. And somehow I was becoming the selfish one. Then came the moment that shattered whatever denial I still had left. I overheard Marcus talking at a barbecue. He didn't know I was behind the fence near the patio. One of his friends asked if he ever planned to repay me. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. Then he said, "Why would I? There's no paperwork." I swear, my chest physically hurt hearing that. And I need to know, what would you have done at that point? Would you cut him off immediately? Or still try to save the relationship? Seriously, pause the video and let me know in the comments. And if you think I should have cut him off right then and there, hit that like button to let me know you're on my side. Because I honestly kept hoping my brother would become the person I thought he was. And that hope almost cost me everything. Everyone laughed with him. My entire body went cold. Then he added, "My brother's too soft to sue me anyway." That sentence changed everything. After that day, I stopped arguing, stopped pleading, stopped reminding him. Instead, I started documenting everything. Every text, every bank transfer, every voicemail. And the more I collected, the uglier the truth became. I found old voice notes where Marcus clearly called it a loan, texts promising repayment schedules, messages thanking me for investing in his future. Then one night, a mutual friend sent me something that made my hands shake, a recording. Marcus was drunk at a party, laughing about me, calling me pathetic, saying I was financially useful. Then he said something I will never forget. He needed family. I needed funding. That was it. Whatever guilt I still carried died right there. I contacted a lawyer the next morning, and the lawyer said 4 beautiful words. "You actually have evidence. So tell me honestly, if somebody betrays you privately, do they deserve to be exposed publicly? If you think he absolutely deserved it, hit that like button right now. And if you think public exposure is going too far, drop a no in the comments and tell me why. Because what happened at that dinner permanently destroyed our family. 2 weeks later, my parents hosted a large family dinner. Marcus arrived late in designer clothes like he always did now. Confident, smiling, untouchable. Dinner went normally for almost an hour. Then my father raised a glass. To Marcus, the successful entrepreneur of the family. Everyone applauded. Marcus smiled proudly. That's when I stood up. "I think the family deserves the full story." The room went silent. Marcus stared at me immediately. "What are you doing?" I pulled out my phone. Then I played the first voice note. Marcus's voice filled the dining room. "Once business stabilizes, I'll start paying you back monthly." Silence. My mother tried to look confused. Marcus immediately tried laughing. That's taken out of context. Then I played another recording, and another. Texts appeared on the television through screen share. Payment plan loan. Repayment. The room changed instantly. You could literally feel the atmosphere collapsing around him. Then came the final recording. The party recording. He needed family. I needed funding. No one moved. No one spoke. Marcus looked pale. For the first time in years, he looked scared. Then I handed him an envelope. "What's that?" my father asked quietly. I looked directly at Marcus. "Legal papers." For a few seconds, nobody moved. The entire dining room felt frozen. You could hear silverware clinking softly against plates as people stared at Marcus like they were seeing him for the first time. Then the reaction started. My Aunt Linda looked furious. She pointed directly at Marcus and said, "Family doesn't do this to one another." One of my cousins shook his head slowly. "You let him fund your entire life and then humiliated him for it." Another relative muttered, "That's cold." And for the first time all night, Marcus looked genuinely cornered. But then something happened I wasn't expecting. Not everyone looked shocked. Some people looked uncomfortable, guilty, like they already knew pieces of the truth. I started noticing certain family members avoiding eye contact with me. My uncle wouldn't look up from the table. One cousin suddenly became very interested in her phone. That's when I realized something horrifying. Some of them had known. Maybe not every detail, but enough. Enough to know Marcus borrowed the money. Enough to know repayment had been promised. Enough to know I was supposed to have partial ownership once the business became profitable. And they stayed silent, because somewhere along the way, the family had quietly decided this was acceptable. I suddenly remembered little comments over the years. "Daniel doesn't really need the money. He's always been generous. He'll be okay." And then the realization hit me fully. This wasn't just Marcus. This had become a family pattern, a quiet, unspoken system. Borrow from Daniel. Delay repayment. Guilt him if he asks questions. Because Daniel was dependable. Because Daniel understood family. Because Daniel just wanted to belong. And the ugliest part? Some of them genuinely expected me to absorb the loss silently just to keep the peace. My cousin Rachel finally spoke up softly. I honestly thought you agreed to let him keep the money. I looked at her in disbelief. Why would I agree to lose $80,000? She opened her mouth, then closed it again, because there wasn't an answer that didn't sound awful out loud. Then my father spoke, quietly, almost ashamed. We should have said something sooner. That sentence hit harder than Marcus's betrayal, because it confirmed what I had started realizing. People saw what was happening. They just didn't stop it. My mother started crying. Not loud, dramatic crying. The kind that comes from realizing years of denial are collapsing all at once. And suddenly people weren't just angry at Marcus anymore. They were angry at everyone who enabled him. Everyone who repeated the lie. Everyone who benefited from keeping me quiet. Everyone who treated my sacrifice like an obligation instead of generosity. The room felt poisoned with shame. Marcus kept trying to defend himself. You're all acting like I committed a crime. But nobody backed him anymore, not this time. Because once the truth was spoken out loud, the family could finally see how ugly it really was. Not just the money, the manipulation, the entitlement, the way they had all slowly normalized treating one person's kindness like a resource to exploit. And I think that's the part that horrified them most. Not that Marcus betrayed me, but that for years, everyone had quietly allowed it. Marcus exploded. He started yelling, calling me dramatic, bitter, jealous. But the performance was over, because now everyone had heard the truth in his own voice. My mother's crying got louder. My father looked completely humiliated. And Marcus? He kept trying to shift. Blame. You're really suing your own brother? I looked him dead in the eyes. No. I'm suing the man who used me. Then I walked out, and for the first time in years I fell. Calm. The lawsuit dragged on for months. Marcus tried settling privately once he realized the evidence was overwhelming. But by then, it wasn't just about money anymore. It was about dignity, truth, respect. Eventually, we reached a legal settlement. I got back every single cent of the initial $80,000 loan, plus interest. On top of that, the court granted me the 8% ownership stake I was originally promised. They even offered me an active role in the company, but I turned it down. I wanted my money, not his company. The bigger loss wasn't financial anyway. It was realizing someone you loved saw your loyalty as weakness. We don't speak anymore. And honestly, that's the part people understand the least. They think betrayal only counts when strangers hurt you. But sometimes, the deepest betrayal comes from the people who smile in your face, share a meal, all while taking from you. And if I learned anything from all of this, it's this: never let family become an excuse to abandon common sense. Because some people don't see generosity as kindness. They see it as opportunity. And once they realize you'll sacrifice yourself for them, they start calculating how much more they can take. The money hurt. But losing the illusion of who my brother really was, that hurt far more. And he knows it. Because the one thing he never got back after that dinner was the family's admiration. The lie built his success. But the truth destroyed the image he cared about most. It took a long time to recover from this, but getting that closure was worth it. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below letting me know what your absolute breaking point would be. Your support helps me keep telling these stories.